Om Ajnanatimidandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Dhena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Continuing our reading after Maharaj's beautiful dramatic reading of Govardhana Hill. Chapter 25, Devastating Rainfall in Vrindavana. When Indra understood that the sacrifice which was to be offered to the cowherd men in Vrindavana had been stopped by Krishna, he became angry, and he vented his anger upon the inhabitants of Vrindavana, who were headed by Nanda Maharaj. Although Indra knew perfectly well that Krishna was personally protecting them. As the director of different kinds of clouds, Indra called for the Samvartaka. This cloud is invited when there is a need to devastate the whole cosmic manifestation. The Samvartaka was ordered by Indra to go over Vrindavan and inundate the whole area with an extensive flood. Demoniacally, Indra thought himself to be the all-powerful Supreme Personality. When demons become very powerful, they defy the Supreme Controller, the Personality of Godhead, Indra. When demons become very powerful, they defy the Supreme Controller, the Personality of Godhead. Indra, though not a demon, was puffed up by his material position, and he wanted to challenge the Supreme Controller. He thought himself, at least for the time being, as powerful as Krishna. Indra said, "Just see the impotence of the inhabitants of Vrindavan. They are simply inhabitants of the forests. But being infatuated with their friend Krishna, who is nothing but an ordinary human being, they have dared to defy the demigods." Krishna has declared in the Bhagavad Gita that the worshippers of the demigods are not very intelligent. He has also declared that one has to give up all kinds of demigod worship and simply concentrate on Krishna consciousness. Krishna is invoking the anger of Indra and later on chastising him is a clear indication to his devotees that those who are engaged in Krishna consciousness have no need to worship any demigod, even if it is found that the demigod has become angry. Krishna gives his devotees all protection, and they should completely depend on his mercy. Indra cursed the action of the inhabitants of Vrindavana and said, "By defying the authority of the demigods, the inhabitants of Vrindavan will suffer in material existence. Having neglected the sacrifice to the demigods, they cannot cross over the impediments of the ocean of material existence." Indra further declared, "These cowherd men in Vrindavan have neglected my authority on the advice of this talkative boy who is known as Krishna. He is nothing but a child, and by believing this child they have enraged me." Thus, he ordered the Samvartaka cloud to go and destroy the prosperity of Vrindavan. The men of Vrindavan, said Indra, have become too puffed up over their material opulence and are overconfident due to the presence of their tiny friend, Krishna. He is simply talkative, childish, and unaware of the complete cosmic situation, although he is thinking himself very advanced in knowledge. Because they have taken Krishna so seriously, they must be punished. They should be destroyed with their cows. In this way, Indra ordered the Samvartaka cloud to go to Vrindavan and inundate the place. It is indicated here that in the villages or outside the towns, the inhabitants must depend on the cows for their prosperity. When the cows are destroyed, the people are destitute of all kinds of opulences. When King Indra ordered the Samvartaka and companion clouds to go to Vrindavana, the clouds were afraid of doing this mischief. But King Indra assured them, "You go ahead, and I will also go, riding on my elephant, accompanied by great storms, and I shall apply all my strength to punishing the inhabitants of Vrindavan."
Who's puffed up?
Ordered by King Indra, all the dangerous clouds appeared above Vrindavan and began to pour water incessantly. with all their strength and power. There was constant lightning and thunder, blowing of severe wind, and incessant falling of rain. The rain seemed to fall like piercing sharp arrows. By pouring water as thick as pillars without cessation, the clouds gradually filled all the lands in Vrindavan with water, and there was no visible distinction between higher and lower land. The situation was very dangerous, especially for the animals. The rainfall was accompanied by great winds, and every living creature in Vrindavan began to tremble from the severe cold. Unable to find any other source of deliverance, they all approached Govinda to take shelter at his lotus feet. The cows especially, being much aggrieved from the heavy rain, bowed down their heads, and taking their calves underneath their bodies, they approached the Supreme Personality of Godhead to take shelter of his lotus feet. At that time, all the inhabitants of Vrindavan began to pray to Lord Krishna. Dear Krishna, they prayed, you are all powerful, and you are very affectionate to your devotees. Now please protect us, who have been much harassed by angry Indra.
Upon hearing their prayer, Krishna could understand that Indra, being bereft of his sacrificial honor, was pouring down rain that was accompanied by heavy pieces of ice and strong winds, although all this was out of season. Krishna understood that this was a deliberate exhibition of anger by Indra. He therefore concluded, this demigod who thinks himself supreme has shown his great power, but I shall answer him according to my position, and I shall teach him that he is not autonomous in managing universal affairs. I am the Supreme Lord over all, and I shall thus take away his false prestige, which has risen from his power. The demigods are my devotees, and therefore it is not possible for them to forget my supremacy, but somehow or other he has become puffed up with material power, and thus is now maddened. I shall act in such a way as to deliver him of his false prestige. I shall give protection to my devotees in Vrindavan, who are at present completely dependent on my mercy, and whom I have taken completely under my protection. I must save them by my mystic power. Thinking in this way, Lord Krishna immediately picked up Govardhana hill with one hand, exactly as a child picks up a mushroom from the ground. Thus he exhibited his transcendental pastime of lifting Govardhana hill. Lord Krishna then addressed his devotees. My dear brothers, my dear father, my dear inhabitants of Vrindavan, you can now safely enter under the umbrella of Govardhana hill, which I have just lifted. Do not be afraid of the hill and think that it will fall from my hand. You have been too much afflicted from the heavy rain and strong wind. Therefore I have lifted this hill, which will protect you exactly like a huge umbrella. I think this is a proper arrangement to relieve you of your immediate distress. Be happy along with your animals underneath this great umbrella. Be assured by Lord Krishna, being assured by Lord Krishna, all the inhabitants of Vrindavan entered beneath the great hill along with their property and animals, and they all appeared to be safe. The inhabitants of Vrindavan and their animals remained there for 1 week without being disturbed by hunger, thirst, or any other discomforts. They were simply astonished to see how Krishna was holding up the mountain with his little finger of his left hand. Seeing the extraordinary mystic power of Krishna, Indra, the king of heaven, was thunderstruck and baffled in his determination. He immediately called for all the clouds and asked them to desist. When the sky became completely cleared of all clouds and there was sunrise again, the strong wind stopped. At that time, Krishna the Supreme Personality of Godhead, known now as the lifter of Govardhana Hill, said, "My dear cowherd men, now you can leave and take your wives, children, cows, and valuables, because everything is ended. The inundation has gone down, along with the swelling waters of the river." All the men loaded their valuables on carts and slowly left with their cows and other paraphernalia. After they had cleared out everything, Lord Krishna very slowly replaced Govardhana Hill in exactly the same position it had been before. When everything was done, all the inhabitants of Vrindavan approached Krishna with feelings of love and embraced him with great ecstasy. The gopis, being naturally very affectionate to Krishna, began to offer him yogurt mixed with their tears, and they poured incessant blessings upon him. Mother Yashoda, Mother Rohini, Nanda, and Balarama, who was the strongest of the strong, embraced Krishna one after another, and from spontaneous feelings of affection, blessed him over and over again. In the heavens, different demigods from different planetary systems, such as Siddhaloka, Gandharvaloka, and Charanaloka, also began to show their complete satisfaction. They poured showers of flowers on the surface of the earth and sounded different conch shells. There was beating of drums, and being inspired by godly feelings, residents of Gandharvaloka began to play on their tamburas to please the Lord. After this incident, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, surrounded by his dear friends and the animals, returned to his home. As usual, the gopis began to chant the glorious pastimes of Lord Krishna with great feeling, for they were chanting from the heart. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purport, the 25th chapter of Krishna, devastating rainfall in Vrindavan.
Chapter 26, Wonderful Krishna. Without understanding the intricacies of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and without knowing his uncommon spiritual opulences, the innocent cowherd boys and men of Vrindavan began to discuss his wonderful activities which surpass the activities of all men. One of them said, "My dear friends, considering his wonderful activities, how is it possible that such an uncommon boy would come and live with us in Vrindavan? It is really not possible. Just imagine, he is now only 7 years old. How is it possible for him to lift Govardhana Hill in one hand and hold it up just like the king of elephants holds a lotus flower? To lift a lotus flower is a most insignificant thing for an elephant, and similarly Krishna lifted Govardhana Hill without exertion. When he was simply a small baby and could not even see properly, he killed a great demon, Putana. While sucking her breast, he also sucked out her life air. Krishna killed the Putana demon exactly as eternal time kills a living creature in due course. When he was only 3 months old, he was sleeping underneath a hand-driven cart. Being hungry for his mother's breasts, he began to cry and throw his legs upward. And from the kicking of his small feet, the cart immediately broke apart and fell to pieces. When he was only 1 year old, he was carried away by the Trinavarta demon disguised as a whirlwind, and although he was taken very high in the sky, he simply hung on the neck of the demon and forced him to fall from the sky and immediately die. Once his mother, being disturbed by his stealing butter, tied him to a wooden mortar, and the child pulled it toward a pair of trees known as Yamala Arjuna and caused them to fall. Once, when he was engaged in tending the calves in the forest along with his elder brother Balaram, a demon named Bakasura appeared, and Krishna at once bifurcated the demon's beak. When the demon known as Vaisesika entered among the calves tended by Krishna with a desire to kill him, he immediately detected the demon, killed him, and threw him into a tree. When Krishna, along with his brother Balaram, entered the Talavana forest, the demon known as Dhenukasura, in the shape of an ass, attacked them and was immediately killed by Balaram, who caught his hind legs and threw him into a palm tree. Although the Dhenukasura demon was assisted by his cohorts, also in the shape of asses, all were killed, and the Talavana forest was then opened for the use of the animals and inhabitants of Vrindavan. When Pralambasura entered among Krishna's cowherd boyfriends, Krishna caused him to be killed by Balaram. Thereafter, Krishna saved his friends and cows from a severe forest fire, and he chastised the Kaliya serpent in the lake of the Jamuna river and forced him to leave the vicinity of the Jamuna. He thereby made the water of the Jamuna poisonless. Another one of the friends of Nanda Maharaj said, "My dear Nanda, we do not know why we are so attracted by your son, Krishna. We want to forget him, but this is impossible. Why are we so naturally affectionate toward him? Just imagine how wonderful it is. On one hand, he is only a boy of 7 years, and on the other hand, there is a huge hill like Govardhana hill, and he lifted it so easily. Oh Nanda Maharaj, we are now in great doubt. Your son Krishna must be one of the demigods. He is not at all an ordinary boy. Maybe he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead." On hearing the praises of the cowherd men of Vrindavan, King Nanda said, "My dear friends, in reply to you, I can simply present the statement of Gargamuni so that your doubts may be cleared. When he came to perform the name-giving ceremony, he said that this boy descends in different periods of time in different colors, and that this time he has appeared in Vrindavan in a blackish color known as Krishna. Previously, he had a white color, and then a red color, then a yellow color. He also said that this boy was once the son of Vasudeva, and everyone who knows of his previous birth calls him Vasudeva. Actually, he said that my son has many varieties of names according to his different qualities and activities. Gargacharya assured me that this boy would be all auspicious for my family, and that he would be able to give transcendental blissful pleasure to all the cowherd men and cows in Vrindavan. Even though we would be put into various kinds of difficulties by the grace of this boy, we would be very easily freed from them. He also said that formerly this boy saved the world from an unregulated condition, and he saved all honest men from the hands of the dishonest thieves. He also said that any fortunate man who becomes attached to this boy, Krishna, is never vanquished or defeated by his enemy. On the whole, he is exactly like Lord Vishnu, who always takes the side of the demigods, who are consequently never defeated by the demons. Gargacharya thus concluded that my child would grow to be exactly like Vishnu in transcendental beauty, qualification, activities, influence, and opulence, and so we should not be very astonished by his wonderful activities. After telling me this, Gargacharya returned home, and since then we have been continually seeing the wonderful activities of this child. According to the version of Gargacharya, I consider that he must be Narayan himself, or maybe a plenary portion of Narayan. When all the cowherd men had very attentively heard the statements of Gargacharya through Nanda Maharaj, they better appreciated the wonderful activities of Krishna and became very jubilant and satisfied. They began to praise Nanda Maharaj because by consulting him their doubts about Krishna were cleared. They said, "Let Krishna, who is so kind, beautiful, and merciful, protect us." When angry Indra sent torrents of rain accompanied by showers of ice blocks and high wind, Krishna immediately took compassion upon us and saved us and our families, cows, and valuable possessions by picking up Govardhana hill, just as a child picks up a mushroom. He saved us so wonderfully. May he continue to glance mercifully over us and our cows. May we live peacefully under the protection of wonderful Krishna. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 26th chapter of Krishna, Wonderful Krishna.
Chapter 27. Prayers by Indra, the king of heaven. When Krishna saved the inhabitants of Vrindavan from the wrath of Indra by lifting Govardhana hill, a Surabhi cow from Goloka Vrindavan, as well as King Indra from the heavenly planets, appeared before him. Indra, the king of heaven, was conscious of his offense before Krishna. Therefore, he stealthily appeared before him in a secluded place. He immediately fell down at the lotus feet of Krishna, although his own crown was dazzling like sunshine. Indra knew about the exalted position of Krishna because Krishna is the master of Indra. But he could not believe that Krishna could come down and live in Vrindavan among the cowherd men. When Krishna defied the authority of Indra, Indra became angry because he thought that he was all in all within this universe and that no one was as powerful as he. But after this incident, his false puffed up prestige was destroyed. Being conscious of his subordinate position, he appeared before Krishna with folded hands and began to offer the following prayers. My dear Lord, Indra said, being puffed up by my false prestige, I thought that you had offended me by not allowing the cowherd men to perform the Indra Yajna. And I thought that you wanted to enjoy the offerings that were arranged for the sacrifice. I thought that in the name of a Govardhana sacrifice, you were taking my share of profit. And therefore I mistook your position. Now, by your grace, I can understand that you are the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, and that you are transcendental to all material qualities. Your transcendental position is Vishuddha Sattva, which is above the platform of the material mode of goodness. And your transcendental abode is beyond the disturbance of the material qualities. Your name, fame, form, qualities, paraphernalia, and pastimes are all beyond this material nature, and they are never disturbed by the three material modes. Your abode is accessible only for one who undergoes severe austerities and penances and becomes completely free from the onslaught of material qualities like passion and ignorance. If someone thinks that when you enter within this material world, you accept the modes of material nature, he is mistaken. The waves of the material qualities are never able to touch you, and you certainly do not accept them when you are present within this world. Your lordship is never conditioned by the laws of material nature. My dear Lord, you are the original father of this cosmic manifestation. You are the supreme spiritual master of this cosmic world, and you are the original proprietor of everything. As eternal time, you are competent to chastise offenders. Within this material world there are many fools like me who consider themselves to be the Supreme Lord or the all-in-all within the universe. You are so merciful that without accepting their offenses, you devise means so that their false prestige is subdued, and they can know that you and no one else are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. My dear Lord, you are the Supreme Father, the Supreme Spiritual Master, and the Supreme King. Therefore you have the right to chastise all living entities whenever there is any discrepancy in their behavior. The Father, the Spiritual Master, and the Supreme Executive Officer of the state are always well-wishers of their sons, their students, and their citizens respectively. As such, the well-wishers have the right to chastise their dependents. By your own desire you appear auspiciously on the earth and your eternal varieties of forms. And in your eternal varieties of forms, you come to glorify the earthly planet and specifically to chastise persons who are falsely claiming to be God. In the material world, there is regular competition between different types of living entities to become supreme leaders of society. And after being frustrated in achieving the supreme positions of leadership, foolish persons claim to be God, the Supreme Personality. There are many such foolish personalities in this world, like me. But in due course of time, when they come to their senses, they surrender unto you and again engage themselves properly by rendering service unto you. And that is the purpose of your chastising persons envious of you. My dear Lord, I committed a great offense unto your lotus feet, being falsely proud of my material opulences, not knowing your unlimited power. Therefore, my Lord, kindly excuse me, because I am fool number one. Kindly give me your blessings, so that I may not act so foolishly again. If you think, my Lord, that the offense is very great and cannot be excused, then I appeal to you, then I am your eternal servant. You appear in this world to give protection to your eternal servants and to destroy the demons who maintain great military strength just to burden the very existence of the earth. As I am your eternal servant, kindly excuse me. My dear Lord, you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you, because you are the Supreme Person and the Supreme Soul. You are the Son of Vasudeva, and you are the Supreme Lord, Krsna, the Master of all pure devotees. Please accept my prostrated obeisances. You are the personification of supreme knowledge. You can appear anywhere, according to your desire, in any one of your eternal forms. You are the root of all creation and the supreme soul of all living entities. Due to my gross ignorance, I created a great disturbance in Vrindavan by sending torrents of rain and a heavy hailstorm. I acted out of severe anger caused by your stopping the sacrifice which was to be held to satisfy me. But my dear Lord, you are so kind to me that you have bestowed your mercy upon me by destroying all my false pride. I therefore take shelter of your lotus feet. My dear Lord, you are not only the Supreme Controller, but also the spiritual master of all living entities. Thus praised by Indra, Lord Krsna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, smiled beautifully and then replied in a grave voice like a rumbling cloud. My dear Indra, I stopped your sacrifice just to show you my causeless mercy and to remind you that I am your eternal master. I am the master not only of you, but of all the other demigods as well. You should always remember that all your material opulences are due to my mercy. No living entity can independently become opulent. One must be favored by my mercy. Everyone should always remember that I am the Supreme Lord. I can show anyone my favor and I can chastise anyone, because no one is superior to me. If I find someone overpowered by false pride, in order to show him my causeless mercy, I withdraw all his opulences. It is noteworthy that Krishna sometimes removes all of a rich man's opulences in order to facilitate his becoming a soul surrendered to him. This is a special favor of the Lord's. Sometimes it is seen that a person is very opulent materially, but due to his devotional service to the Lord, he may be reduced to poverty. One should not think, however, that because he worshipped the Supreme Lord, he became poverty-stricken. The real purport is that when a person is a pure devotee, but at the same time, by miscalculation, wants to lord it over material nature, the Lord shows his special mercy by taking away all material opulences, until at last he surrenders unto the Supreme Lord. After instructing Indra, Lord Krishna asked him to return to his kingdom in the heavenly planets and to remember always that he is never the Supreme, but is always subordinate to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He also advised him to remain as King of Heaven, but to be careful of false pride. After this, the transcendental Surabhi cow, who had come with Indra to see Krishna, offered her respectful obeisances unto him and worshipped him. The Surabhi offered her prayer as follows. My dear Lord Krishna, you are the most powerful of all mystic yogis because you are the soul of the complete universe, and only from you has all this cosmic manifestation taken place. Therefore, although Indra tried his best to kill my descendant cows in Vrindavan, they remained under your shelter, and you have protected them all so well. We do not know anyone else as the Supreme, nor do we go to any god or demigods for protection. Therefore you are our Indra, you are the Supreme Father of the whole cosmic manifestation, and you are the protector and elevator of all the cows, brahmanas, demigods, and others who are pure devotees of your Lordship. O Super Soul of the universe, let us bathe you with our milk, for you are our Indra. O Lord, you appear just to diminish the burden of impure activities of the earth, on the earth. Then the Surabhi cow bathed Krishna with her milk, and Indra bathed him with the water of the celestial Ganges through the trunk of his carrier elephant. After this, the Surabhi cows and all the demigods and their mothers joined the heavenly King Indra in worshipping Lord Krishna by bathing him with Ganges water and the milk of the Surabhis. Thus Govinda, Lord Krishna, was pleased with all of them. The residents of all higher planetary systems, such as Gandharva Loka, Vidyadhara Loka, Siddhaloka, and Charnan Loka, all combined and glorified the Lord by chanting his holy name, as their wives and damsels danced with great joy. They very much satisfied the Lord by incessantly pouring flowers from the sky. When everything was very nicely and joyfully settled, the cows overflooded the surface of the earth with their milk. The water of the rivers began to flow with various tasty liquids and give nourishment to the trees, producing fruits and flowers of different colors and tastes. The trees began to pour drops of honey. The hills and mountains began to produce potent medicinal plants and valuable stones. Because of Krishna's presence, all these things happened very nicely, and the lower animals, who were generally envious of one another, were envious no longer. After satisfying Krishna, who was the Lord of all the cows in Vrindavan, and it was known as Govinda, King Indra took his permission to return to his heavenly kingdom. As he passed through cosmic space, he was surrounded by all kinds of demigods. This great incident is a powerful example of how Krishna consciousness can benefit the world. Even the lower animals forget their envious nature and become elevated to the qualities of the demigods. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 27th chapter of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Prayers by Indra, the King of Heaven.
Any of the parts that stuck with you?
The part where Prabhupada or Krishna was saying that when the devotee becomes proud over his material opulences or something, Krishna takes his opulences away. Something that I've experienced a few times. Becoming proud over certain services, doing something very well, Krishna just takes it away, just like that. And it's quite nice to see it.
Can you say it again?
No, the part where I think it was Prabhupada saying, or was Krishna saying that when somebody becomes proud, Krishna takes away all of his opulences. And I was saying that I experienced it many times when performing a certain service and becoming proud over it. And suddenly the ability to actually do it just take it away, and I'm amazed, like, how could I actually forget to do this?
Nice.
It's just mystical, so it's kind of clear how it's Krishna taking it away.
Excellent. One, two.
I find the Krishna book extremely elegant. Prabhupada's language is very elegant. But here is a very particular elegance that strikes me. The real purpose is that when a person is a pure devotee, but at the same time, by miscalculation, wants to lord it over material nature, the Lord shows special mercy.
You read it one more time?
The real purpose is that when a person is a pure devotee, at the same time, by miscalculation, wants to lord it over material nature, the Lord shows His special mercy by taking away all material opulences until at last He surrendered.
And what struck you about that so much?
I just like this elegance of language when it says miscalculation. You know, the price of miscalculation is very dear. Yeah. Because, you know, we're so much conditioned when we grew up by the Mediterranean traditions, you know, that sin and the whole thing about punishment and reward and so on, so drastic and so incisive. But the word miscalculation is such a noble word. It is so kind. Yeah.
Yeah. That's nice. Yeah, it's very...
I was amazed at the power of the material energy, because just see how much what Krishna did in order to correct Indra, right? And then in his prayers he said, "Thank you so much. I'll never do that again." And then he did it again, and he keeps doing it again, and he keeps getting corrected because he's a devotee. You know, and Krishna keeps forgiving him. But when you get a position, a big position, it's extremely difficult. You know, even Lord Brahma sometimes makes a mistake and does something crazy. So I was just really appreciating just how powerful Krishna's energy is, that no one, except for him, never gets influenced by material energy. And that's confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna himself says, there's no one in the material universe, from Brahma down to Indra, that is not influenced by the modes of material nature.
Wonderful.
I had exactly the same point as Hari Prabhu. Very precise words of Prabhupada. This special sentence struck me, miscalculation. A few chapters ago also, that's like by misidentification of the body with the self, and we fatigue. So this is also special use. And then that's one fatigue. Fatigue from misidentification, and a few paragraphs below there was fatigue of the gopis from separation. That's interesting. But regarding this sentence, I was thinking, how can one be a pure devotee and have miscalculation of desire to glory and all that?
Young Bharati. Prabhupada answers that in Gita. Kind of. 931. Yes.
In regard to the gopis worshiping goddess Katyayani, Prabhupada gave us his own example, as he describes in the purport. And we're on a morning walk in Vrindavan, and we passed the Durga temple. And Prabhupada walks in and pays obeisances, and we also walked in and followed suit. And afterwards we asked Prabhupada, why are we worshiping Goddess Durga? And he said, I was thinking of the gopis worshiping Goddess Katyayani to get Krishna into their history. It's all, it's the mentality that counts, where that action is directed.
Hare Krishna. So, a couple chapters ago we read that by performing devotional service to Krishna, one automatically pleases everyone. I guess my experience is though many times I'm out on book distribution and many people might not appreciate what the devotee is doing and tell you, get out of here, what are you doing? They don't pay attention, even though I'm engaged in devotional service and this service is pleasing to Krishna. And if everyone's supposed to be pleased by it, why does it seem like some people are not pleased and they seem inimical to it? I guess that's a question.
Well, in the Nectar Devotion, the definition of auspiciousness, which is one of the characteristics, the second characteristic mentioned of the performance of pure devotional service, Rupa Goswami says auspiciousness means the performance of activities that are good for all the people of the world. And whether they know or know not at the time, it's of benefit to them. And we just saw a couple of reversals where people had not understood Krishna and thought that he was their enemy in some way because he was taking away their sense gratification, and then they came to understand that he was actually their well-wisher. In the same way, it is all auspicious for all living entities, and some, because of their predisposition to appreciate it, will appreciate it immediately, and others later on will come to appreciate it because they're not at the moment able to appreciate it. Prabhu mentions this in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, that every living entity has an appreciating capacity. In fact, that's the whole purpose of the first part of the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. It seems as if Krishna is partial. The question that Parikshit Maharaj asked at the beginning of the 7th canto is, why is the Lord partial to the demigods? Seems like he's favoring Indra in the earlier canto, 6th canto. And then Shukadeva Goswami says actually the Lord's equal to everybody, but some people are able to take advantage of his mercy and other people aren't, according to their positioning in the material modes of nature. So it is auspicious for everybody coming in contact with Krishna, and some immediately realize it because of their particular situation. Others will realize it later on. But in general, it is mentioned in Dhira Dhira Jana Priyo Priyakaro Nirmatsaro and Pujito that the Goswamis were appreciated by the gentle and the ruffians. And there's a phenomenon that we see oftentimes that even those who do have a kind of affinity for material nature or whatever, have a sudden appreciation for a pure devotee because they recognize or intuit that that person doesn't have any envy. Yadabar Prabhu has an anecdote I'm predicting.
It's like a Bihari non-party this year. Everyone's hearing all the name who comes in contact with you. And they may, a seed is planted in the heart. I had personal experience, like my first Harinan that I saw, I just felt the holy name enter the ear and go into the heart. I think that's described in Shastra, how that works. And then I walked away for a year and a half. But the effect was there. So everyone is affected. As Vaisesika Prabhu mentioned, they may not know it, they may not know it, but eventually it will have its effect. Maybe in lifetime.
Also, Srila Prabhupada said that when you approach someone seeking a donation for Krishna, Krishna's in his heart. And if Krishna says give, he gives. But if he's not ready, then what can you do? Just like you say, you're out there, jivas are coming, and some are going, get out of here, get a job, get out of my face. And others are, for some reason, qualified, and they're fortunate, and Krishna's in their heart. And if I go up to you and say, here's a Bhagavad Gita, give a donation, and Krishna's in there, and if the guy isn't ready, what can you do? But you did your best, right? You were there. You tried to help them.
Didn't we hear that in the past? Didn't we hear that in the pastime of when the coward boys went to the Brahmanas begging alms, and they came back disappointed, and Krishna said, don't be disappointed. There is no begging. Some people say yes, and some people say no. Shouldn't get disturbed by that. That's the nature of begging.
Just one more point to Gopal Chandra's question. In the same purpose, Srila Prabhupada writes, any sane man will appreciate Krishna consciousness. So insane, envious people will not appreciate. Also, by being angry with Krishna or by coming in contact with Krishna, even through anger, they're absorbed in Krishna consciousness. We have a neighbor in our temple who's very envious. But we can see that, like Kamsa and Shishupal, he's constantly absorbed in harassing us. So like that, they are getting benefit. I'm confident he'll at least get liberation.
In the 11th canto, the 2nd chapter, 12th verse, pure devotional service rendered the Supreme Lord is spiritually so potent that simply by hearing about such transcendental service, by chanting its glories in response, by meditating on it, by respectfully and faithfully accepting it, or by praising the devotional service of others, even persons who hate the demigods and all other living beings can be immediately purified. That's the auspicious effect of devotional service, and there can be reversals, although it's not our duty to try to influence such persons directly. We're supposed to avoid them if they're envious.
And also, there's another verse, isn't it, in the 11th canto, there's another verse where Krishna states openly that he's chosen to deliver the world with the dust of the feet of his devotees. In other words, he empowers the devotees to deliver in a way that he won't do himself. Of course, when he comes to Lord Chaitanya, that's another thing, but in general. And so when you're going out, you are in that position. You are executing the Supreme Lord's will, and you will get that benefit, and that person will get the benefit, even if it's, as the other part pointed out, even if he's not aware of it.
Another one? With the dust of my devotees' lotus feet. This is 11, 14, 16 for those who keep Lord. I desire to purify the material worlds, which are situated within me. Thus I always follow the footsteps of my pure devotees, who are free from all personal desire, wrapped in thought of my pastimes, peaceful, without any feelings of enmity, and of equal disposition everywhere. Purport: just as the devotees always follow the footsteps of Lord Krishna, similarly Lord Krishna, being a devotee of his devotees, follows the footsteps of his devotees. A pure servitor of the Lord is always meditating on the pastimes of the Lord and considering how to assist the Lord in his mission. All the material universes are situated in Sri Krishna's body, as demonstrated to Arjuna, Mother Yashoda, and others. Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore there is no question of impurity in the Lord. Still, the Lord desires to purify the universes situated within him by taking the dust of the lotus feet of his pure devotees. Without the dust of the lotus feet of the devotees, it is not possible to engage in pure devotional service, without which one cannot directly experience transcendental bliss. Lord Krishna thought, I have established this strict rule that one can enjoy my transcendental bliss only through devotional service obtained from the dust of the lotus feet of my devotees. Since I also desire to experience my own bliss, I will observe the standard procedure and accept the dust of my devotees' feet. Srila Madhvacharya points out that Lord Krishna follows the footsteps of his devotees in order to purify them. As the Lord walks along behind his pure devotees, the wind blows the dust of the Lord's feet in front of his devotees, who then become purified by contact with such transcendental dust. One should not foolishly look for material logic in these transcendental pastimes of the Lord. It is simply a question of love between the Lord and his devotees.
Don't look for the logic. It's just love. Far out.
I was thinking of the connection between the two pastimes, the Brahma's wives and the Govardhana pastime. It seems like the connection is that, like, taking shelter of ritualistic activities, like performing yajnas or worshipping the demigods, rather than just taking shelter in Krishna. And I was thinking in this connection that Krishna spoke karma mimamsa philosophy of like just like that materialistic activities is all that there is there. And I was thinking about this when I just got to Vrindavan a couple of weeks ago, that like I have more trust in like performing material activities in order to feed myself than I do in Krishna. It's like innate in my consciousness that performing material activities to feed myself. It's like a and that seems like it's like pretty like it's like innate in the body and the psyche to trust that more than trusting Krishna. And I was thinking it's a little bit harder to find good prasadam in Vrindavan and things like that. And I was thinking that trying to feed myself became more challenging, and I was trusting like not going to the shop and things like that rather than doing service for Krishna. And my consciousness was that, more in line with that, and I was just trying to get out of that consciousness by just finding some service and allowing Krishna to take care of me. So those are just some reflections.
Thank you for sharing that realization. I want to say more about the wives of the Brahma. You were going to say something about the prashadam here. Then he came here and he got great prashadam. It is, we always have a sense here when we're doing concerning chanting, because you take care of yourself as much, besides just the regular ablutions. And then the prashadam's like as good as it gets anywhere in the world. And that sense of yoga kshemam mahamyaham, If anyone just takes that as his or her business to fully focus on devotional service, then Krishna makes all arrangements. And I see that with devotees who are really surrendered to Krishna, how they're really taken care of. In fact, Prabhupada mentioned earlier in one of the chapters that we read that people often say, how is it that you people, you know, you have cars and you're being fed so nicely, and all you're doing is chanting Hare Krishna? And that kind of sense can arise of wonderment, and if you watch devotees who are fully engaged, how are they getting so much facility? And because they're not working or anything like that, they're just actually chanting Hare Krishna and teaching other people to chant Hare Krishna. And meanwhile, Krishna gives every facility possible. Back to the wives of the Brahmins, one part that always strikes me there is the admission at the end by the Brahmanas that they were not as advanced as their wives. And one of the telltale signs was that the women went out into the forest to meet with Krishna, and there was a pervading sense in Vrindavan at that time that anyone could be punished for that, for going near Krishna by Kamsa. That was still in the air very prominently. And the Brahmanas then were afraid to go out there. Even though they had been transformed, they still couldn't do it, because they had fear that they would be punished by Kamsa. And that was one of the signs that the wives were so advanced that they just threw caution to the wind and went out anyway to meet him in the forest. Anything else? Yadabar Prabhu.
You can hold the mic.
So go ahead and take the mic, because nothing counts until you speak into the mic.
Question on the point of the realization of the Brahmins, what actually triggered that? I mean, the wives returned, they were transformed by seeing Krishna, but what actually triggered the realization of the Brahmins?
Well, one thing that's mentioned in the chapter is that Krishna tells them before they go back that he'll adjust everything. He doesn't exactly say how he. Of course, he's the super soul in everyone's heart, but he does say that we'll go back, because the wives expressed their hesitation in going back. They said, we already left everybody, and we'll just be shunned. We won't be able to do service anyway. And then Krishna says, no, I'm going to adjust everything for when you go back. And that's one of the signs that something is, Krishna's up to something there. Reflections? Okay, well, your question was how is it that a pure devotee can be, what was the?
By miscalculation.
Make a miscalculation.
To load it all the time.
And of course, throughout the Krishna book, we see various ways in which pure devotees make miscalculations. Can anybody think of one? An obvious one? That's like a major miscalculation by a pure devotee? Brahma, he miscalculated. Any other ones? One of the scariest ones I saw was with Akrura. Akrura got in with the wrong crowd. He stole the Shamataka jewel, but he's obviously a pure devotee. In fact, his prayers are noted for being quintessential prayers of a pure devotee.
Yeah.
He's noted in verses that he attained perfection by praying and so forth. So, he also, but the question is how it's possible.
Leela, isn't that got something to do with it?
Well, you can always pull out the Leela card, right?
Didn't he get cursed by the gopis because...
That's true too. That's part of the Leela.
Gopis because he took the gopis, took him away from the gopis, and they said, "Oh yeah, you're finished.
That's it.
You're finished. You're going to have to go through a lot."
Prabhupada writes this in the 931 in the Bhagavad Gita. The verse is, he quickly becomes righteous and attains lasting peace, O son of Kunti. Declare it boldly that my devotee never perishes. Prabhupada's purport, this should not be misunderstood. In the 7th chapter, the Lord says that one who is engaged in mischievous activities cannot become a devotee of the Lord. One who is not a devotee of the Lord has no good qualifications whatsoever. The question remains then, how can a person engage in abominable activities either by accident or by intention be a pure devotee? This question may justly be raised. The miscreants, as stated in the 7th chapter, who never come to the devotional service of the Lord have no good qualifications, as it is stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Generally, a devotee who is engaged in the 9 kinds of devotional activities is engaged in the process of cleansing all material contamination from the heart. He puts the Supreme Personality of Godhead within his heart, and all sinful contaminations are naturally washed away. Continuous thinking of the Supreme Lord makes him pure by nature. According to the Vedas, there is a certain regulation, and if one falls down from his exalted position, he has to undergo certain ritualistic processes to purify himself. But here, there is no such condition, because the purifying process is already there in the heart of the devotee due to his remembering the Supreme Personality of Godhead constantly. Therefore, the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, should be continued without stoppage. This will protect a devotee from all accidental fall downs. He will thus remain perpetually free from all material contaminations. But then again, where do accidental fall downs come from? There are cases in which a pure devotee will experience some worldliness. According to the 11th canto of the Bhagavatam, the famous verse that says, Sapadama mulam bhajata priyasya tyaktanya bhavasya hare priyeshaha vikarmiyachot katitam katanchit dhunoti sarvam hridisannivishta, and that is, that it comes somehow or other. And in the purport it's described how anarthas can come out of anywhere, and it's they sort of bubble up to the surface. But the person may be engaged in pure devotional service, but then he gets rectified, as is mentioned here, because he continues the process of devotional service.
In the purport, Tate Mukam Tam Susavikshmana, and the prayers of Brahma for Krishna, Sri Goswami makes this comment. He says, if a devotee once surrenders sincerely to Krishna completely, still there may be in the mind some remnants of his desire or to do something from just the remnants of being in the material world. And therefore Krishna, he thinks, well, I'm not going to allow this to happen. So he arranges. And this is another, Ramachandra also said this to Hanuman. He says, one, the devotee who actually surrendered, even once, fully, for this day I'm yours, then he takes care of that devotee from then on. And then, it may appear to be a simple reaction, as Sri Goswami says, but actually it's medicine administered by the hand of the Lord. That the thing that happens seems like a reaction that is tailor-made to deal with the actual thing causing that faint, lingering in the mind tendency to want to do sinful activity. It's no longer a karmic reaction, it's the medicine given by the Lord.
3 minutes left. Make it a quick because it's just a couple minutes.
I'm just wondering, this question further, that term pure devotee, it seems quite like, is it a specific thing? Is it a generic term? Is there like a line that one crosses exactly to be known as a pure devotee?
Yeah.
The line is when one changes from thinking that Krishna is a thing.
Krishna is the thing. Like we meet people all the time when we, for instance, put an advertisement out there in meetup.com, and people will appreciate Krishna and they'll say, yeah, Krishna is a thing. Hare Krishna is a thing. But somebody who says Krishna is the thing, there's a Rupa Goswami said there's 24 qualities of a pure devotee, and one of them is that the devotee thinks Krishna's the thing, and that his full intention is to surrender Krishna, even if he doesn't have all the other qualities. Said that one quality is sufficient, and if he has all the other qualities but he doesn't have that one, then there's no active. It's like the active ingredient. You look at a package of mints; it's got like 20 things it's got in it, but the one thing that actually works is the menthol, and that's the menthol is that intention to surrender to Krishna. Prabhupada mentions it in various ways, but there's also definition of levels of devotees. I have a chart actually from collecting the different aspects of Kanishta, Madhyama, and Uttamadhikari, and from different shastras. I can look at it and explain it later. So we've run out of time, but there's ways in which different shastras explain the criterion through which one is considered a Kanishta, Madhyama, or Uttamadhikari. And that's another way of gauging what level a devotee's on. And it's not illegal to do that, because it's spoken in the Shastra, for instance, in the Upadeshamrita, Krishneti yasya giritam manasadrita dikshasti chet pranati vishabachantamisham shushusha, etc. That there are various levels of devotees, and one should appropriately associate with each, with the devotees accordingly. But it's noteworthy that even at the lowest level, when somebody just says Hare Krishna, then you're supposed to respect that person within your mind, because there's something special there. And then there are higher levels of advancement as well. And then in the Brahma Samhita, Yadrishi Yadrishi Shraddha Siddhir Bhavati Tadrishi. It is said in the last instructions in the Brahma Samhita that according to how deep or thick one's faith is in Krishna, to that degree one's attained siddhi or perfection in devotional service.
Yeah, I was going to say that once Prabhupada was asked, this is just an anecdote, thing that Prabhupada said. So
Verifiable,
Prabhupada was asked, how many pure devotees are there? And the secretary was saying, this was early on, there weren't that many devotees. And Prabhupada turned and said, how many initiated devotees are there? And he said, I don't know how to say, 25 or something. He said, there are at least that many pure devotees. And then he defined it in that's a very generic sense. He was asking the question about, is there a generic, and he defined it as a person who doesn't have ulterior motives, which goes to his point about, is Krishna, a or the thing. So without ulterior motives means if we don't have an ulterior motive for approaching Krishna, and we want to help, we want to serve Krishna, please Krishna, then we're doing it.
Thus ends our reading of the Krishna book here at Govardhana Hill on Friday, October 18th, 2019. We thank everyone who's joined us online from various places around the world. And for those of you who have joined us here at the live Govardhana studios at the foot of Govardhana Hill. Gaur Premanande.
Nachari Armarman, Nachari Armarman, Nachari Armarman, Nachari Armarman, hey, Nachari Armarman, Nachari Armarman.
Nachare Armarman, Nachare Armarman.